How do you process the potential changes in fiscal policy that could be coming?
We released the CFO survey this morning, which Richmond does with the Atlanta Fed and Duke University. A pretty interesting set of outcomes. The CFOs in that survey, and if any of you would like to participate, we're open for business. We did the survey before the election, half the survey, and half the survey after the election. And what you saw was the business leaders in that survey significantly more optimistic about the state of the U.S. economy, significantly more optimistic about growth. And that's what I hear from my contacts too, though I should pause and say it differs significantly based on what industry you're in. And if you sell solar cells, for example, that's a sector that's not nearly as optimistic. Now, all that is optimism, and people add it together as they do. We don't know what policy is going to be, though. And you could talk about a 60% tariff on China, for example, but is it actually going to be 60%, or is that going to be threatened and then negotiated? Is it going to be on all products or some products? Last time the iPhones weren't tariffed, for example. Is it going to be done for a short period of time or for a long period of time? Is it going to be met with retaliation or not? I mean, there's so much uncertainty in there. It's just hard to make any calls on how policy is going to affect the economy and therefore how monetary policy needs to respond.
I want to come back to how you react to that, but first I want to ask you this question. Do you see tariffs as inflationary?
Well, so at its simplest, if you put a tariff on something, you increase the cost of it. If you increase the cost of it, that's got to increase at some level, some pass through the price. So it should do something to increase prices. Inflation, though, isn't the same as a price for a particular good went up. And I'd like to retain the belief that the Fed has something to do with inflation. And so it's an inflationary pressure, but does it lead to inflation depends a lot on how intermediaries respond, how consumers respond, how businesses respond, and how the Fed responds.
You can imagine there's 3 points where monetary policy could react to the fiscal side. Upon proposal, upon enactment, or upon showing up in the data. What point do you see monetary policy reacting to fiscal policy?
Well, I think monetary policy is going to respond to the entire economy, and fiscal policy is part of the entire economy.
Right.
But so are conflicts in the Middle East, and so are droughts in the Midwest. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on that you have to react to. And I think with all those, you don't try to react to a conversation about something. You try to react when you've got clarity on it. So to me, that's not about talking about tariffs or whatever today. It's also, you don't have to wait till the end till it gets in the data. One of the reasons, that I'm out so much talking to businesses is I want to understand what's happening before it gets into the data. So it's not, you have to wait for the data, but you also don't do it on your judgment of what might happen.